Good afternoon, everyone. Today we have Mr. Ezaz Ahmed from the Gustoval Technovation LLP. Sir is working as a senior product developer over there. Now, for today's webinar, sir will give some brief about the Industry 4.0 and their future scope for the student as well. So now I would like to hand over the session to Ezaz Ahmed, sir, from the Gustoval Technovation. Sir, can you please start your presentation and you can continue, sir. Yes.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
First of all, I'd like to thank for the people who have provided us with an opportunity, like the Parallel University, the coordinators, the students, and for the other people who have been live in today's session. So, guys, with this session, we shall have a discussion on what are the technologies we have and how is the future going to be. So, probably you would have heard this term called as Industrial Revolution 4. That probably comes with lots of technologies with it. So now let's understand how it was established and what are the technologies which go into it. Where further on the same, we can also understand how we can offer a specific career onto a specific domain accordingly. So moving further, before understanding Industrial Revolution 4, we should also have a picture of what an Industrial Revolution itself is. And before that, let's go back a few years, like probably a few hundred years ago. We can go ahead and understand how the life was previously any industrial revolution occurred. So you can see if you speak about India itself, previous to any kingdom which probably was ruling over India or maybe any colonization happened, you could see the life here or maybe in any other country back then, like somewhere around 1600 or maybe before that, it was very much simple. So people used to do some farming or maybe come up with handicraft products to go with their living each day. So here, as a collective, the major two things we can speak about is agrarian or agricultural economy as well as handicraft economy. So back then, if you go a bit further deep, we can also speak about a specific person, and we can also speak about a farmer, where a farmer would have his own land where he can do cultivation around the year, and by the field, the yield he gets from the so he can feed the family for around the year without any issue. And also if needed any other crops, for instance, he needs to get some other material in terms of food or maybe shelter or maybe clothing itself, he can exchange his produced yield with the other vendors to get the requirement for his family and fulfill their necessities. So moreover, as in a collective, we can understand the life or maybe the economy itself was driven with these two aspects, which is agricultural as well as handicraft based economy. And speaking about handicraft, here you can see like there are probably completely handicraft based products starting from a small toy all the way until a huge building. So likewise, you can see even now we have those such museums or maybe the buildings which are still standing tall that are probably handicrafted or probably constructed by the hands by different workers who belong with different technical skills. And now, when did this industrial revolution happen exactly and how we have been coming so far with it? Speaking about the term industrial revolution, I can speak about colonization. And to be specific, let's talk about India itself, where you can see like India probably has a huge history. Like it has been ruled by Mughals, different Hindu empires. So there has been a lot. But it everything like all that stuff completely got eradicated until unless the British stepped in. So we know that British probably came to India for the purpose of business and probably for resources obviously. And moving further, they established their own colony and they probably started ruling over us and they started exploiting the resources. So likewise, you can see like the first thing we need to understand here is the need, where people start moving from one place to the other in terms of different facilities and needs, like in terms of resources or maybe better facilities as such. So likewise, India probably didn't get conquered by one British person. Like there were a number of peoples in terms of army or any other defense people. So likewise, you can say like there are a collective of more than thousands of people coming in and fighting with the people and then invading over us. So likewise, first thing as they move from England or maybe Britain all the way to India, you can understand a huge number of people are being moving from one place to the other, where the demand first of all increases, which can be in terms of facilities, food, shelter, and other different aspects. Likewise, let's imagine, like for instance, the same farmer previously who was doing the cultivation around the year, and now he's been asked to serve or probably produce the yield for these many people and also in a short amount of time. So you can just imagine whether this farmer who was probably owning some small land and where he do cultivation around there to feed his family of 20 to 30 people. But now he's been asked to feed an amount of 1,000 people within a given time Will he be able to do that? Definitely not. So what he can probably take an option is like he can come up with few other people who can help with him and do the cultivation, and then they can get the required yield. But again, that is not more than enough, right? So they have to come up with different mechanisms like this, not only on the part of agriculture but also in different technologies, like for instance different aspects, not technologies. So on that note, that is when man realized that with the manual effort he used to do in any work it is going to be, that is not required because he is not able to fulfill the needs which are in demand. That's when he realized that he needs some equipments or needs some mechanical assistance so that he can reduce his own manual help, and that way he can focus on something else until the productivity is increased. So likewise, industrial revolution started back in Britain and it was in 18th century. And to be specific, the first revolution happened somewhere around 1700s. And soon there it started spreading all across the globe. And now that's how industrial revolution came into picture. Speaking about revolution 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's understand revolution 1 first. Where, as I mentioned earlier, revolution 1 occurred around 1700s, and it is when man was probably introduced to machines. That's where we probably understood what machines were. And in simple terms, we can say that they have been to help us with manual efforts. Like for instance, if I'm doing something completely out of my hands or maybe my manual effort, that can be reduced to some extent with the help of that respective machine. So likewise, man-based work was completely, or sorry, not completely, to some extent was been eliminated by a mechanical machine, or it can also be an hydraulic machine. And as an example, we can see we have a smith and who is yielding his weapon into a specific shape. So that he is doing with the help of a machine which is continuously hitting onto the object until unless he achieves the required shape. But if this was not the help of machine, just imagine how he would do that traditionally. He'd be hitting the same piece of metal using a hammer to get that into shape. So that would be again tiring, and also he needs to spend more energy on that. So that amount of manual effort is reduced here in Industrial Revolution 1. Along with the machines, man also got introduced to factories. And as we know that already, there was colonization. Because of that, there was also mobilization. People start moving from one place to the other in search of better services and in search of better future. So likewise, they also need some employment or maybe probably jobs or maybe any other type of way. So likewise, they also need to come up with a work, right? So they can do something and that way they can earn and go with their living. So likewise, factories were also introduced in Revolution 1, where probably you can say like they were all running on coal as a major source of fuel. And the factories can be shall like agricultural factories, which probably were farms, textile industries, have been ships and trains. So likewise, these were the stuff over there. And it was the time the steam engine, probably for the purpose of transportation, was also introduced, which also functioned in coal. So likewise, that's how the revolution started. And these were the basic machines, or you can select the very basic technologies we got under the revolution 1. So with this revolution, we can understand like we have probably come a little far away from the manual effort, which was completely a trend previously. And now, after revolution 1, man took some time to realize that coal cannot be dependent, like we cannot depend on coal for a very long amount of time, because we know that it is probably a hindrance for both environment as well as for the humans who work along with that. So likewise, they started exploring different options instead of coal, like different sources of energy. So that way they started exploring, and almost 100 years after revolution 1, revolution 2 occurred, which was approximately around 1870s. And now what are the technologies we achieved in revolution 2, and how further it took forward the technologies of revolution 1 further. So likewise, you can see in industrial revolution 2, we can speak about the technologies specifically as such as electricity. That is this way we probably came to an invention of electricity, and we know in our daily lives, and right now the situation we know most all over the country, moreover it is completely a scenario of lockdown, and it is being lifted slowly. But you can just imagine when there was a time of lockdown, everything was from home, like work from home, teach from home, learn from home. So probably everything was from home. And we probably were connected to different people, maybe my colleague or maybe a student and a teacher, with the help of internet using a specific platform. So likewise, you can just imagine maybe it can be either a laptop or a mobile device. It probably needs some electricity. So it can be by the source of a battery or maybe a direct supply. So that technology which we are speaking right now, that is probably, sorry, that technology was invented in Revolution 2. And we can just imagine how important that technology to us is. Like if you don't have electricity for one single day, if it runs out, we won't be able to do whatever we used to do in our daily life. So it will completely halt the whole process. So likewise, that's the technology which came in Revolution 2, which further powered the machines of the Revolution 1. And it was not complete, but to some extent, it was started back then. And as an example, you can see here, we have a conveyor belt, and over there we have several automobiles or vehicles. So they have been passing from one place to the other. Still, you can see there are two people, where the first person is trying to check the ads or maybe fixing the tires, and the other person is trying to spray it, probably paint it. Likewise, you can see again in Revolution 2, the manual effort was further reduced, but to some extent, it was still needed. Along with this electricity, we have also had other technologies like steam engines as such. Sorry, not steam engines, but probably the internal combustion engines. So internal combustion engines probably can be related to vehicles, which can be like a two-wheeler, four-wheeler as such. So likewise, previously in Revolution 1, we can understand steam engines probably were majorly invented for this purpose of transportation of goods from one place to the other, mostly in India. Alongside, only a few people who are in a higher authority would be able to access the transportation facility. But as you can see, it was limited for people who are only at higher authority, and no common man can easily access it in Revolution 1. But here, the concept itself is changed, where in Revolution 2, we have internal combustion engines. With that, there are several vehicles and automobiles, where now anyone can buy it and can be able to travel wherever you want under the given laws. So likewise, people started traveling more and more, and they started exploring more and more. Further, more needs were created and more demands were raising for facilities again. And now going to my Revolution 3, I can say that this is the one of the best revolution we have ever had. But as you can see, like with this revolution alone, we have been able to reach so far whatever the technology we have been using right now. And everything or every profit that goes to will be for the technologies which is computer systems and electronics. So here, until Revolution 3, we only understood that we can get some work done with the help of a manual machine or probably a hardware or some mechanical equipment. But in Revolution 3, we realized that using a line of code or maybe a program, we can be able to control this hardware. So until my Revolution 3, we had no idea what software is. But here, we understood that using a piece of software, we can control my hardware also. And this where the first step we also took towards embedded system. It was not complete, but yeah, we started moving towards it. And as an example, you can see we have an operator who is operating this pick and place robot who is doing some minute operations which cannot be done by a human using his normal hands. And is controlling this robot using his computer system. Likewise, you can see the manual effort is here further reduced to some extent, but is still required. So likewise, this is all about computer systems, which is a combination of hardware and software, and speak about electronics, which paved way for different communication devices. So might not be huge, but yeah, it was the very first step we also took towards communication, where people start communicating with each other using different communication devices, and the world started becoming smaller and smaller with each day. And here we are at Revolution 4, which happened a few decades ago, where the major technology that revolves or probably is the base of the Revolution 4 can be understood as internet. And speak about internet, I can say that it's an international network or network of networks, or you can call it with anything. So it probably is a sea or an ocean, right? Where there are lots of people communicating with each other, connected with each other. There are different machines or equipments or devices which share data among themselves with the help of internet. So likewise, right now we have been during this webinar, but you can see at the same instant, different activities are happening all across the globe with the help of internet. So likewise, that's how powerful this technology is. And all the other technologies basically revolve around this. So likewise, speaking about internet here, the major thing we need to understand or the major discussion we shall have about is going to be information. Because until my Revolution 2 and 3, or to be specific, we can say that until Revolution 2, if I want to store some data, or if I want to store some, if I'm working on a project, if I want to store something, will I be able to do that easily? No, I have to make use of papers, files, folders to do that. But in Revolution 3, with the help of vacuum devices, which are further upgraded as storage devices, I can be able to store my data maybe in a floppy or maybe a CD drive or maybe in a hard disk as such. And likewise, in Revolution 4, it was further simplified. And the reason why I'm speaking about information here is, for instance, if you use a mobile device or maybe a computer, if you log into, or if you get connected over internet and if you visit a specific website, all the way, if you switch from that website to the other, likewise, if you keep switching and do some activity over internet, Each and every activity is like you're leaving a footprint with that. Likewise, which can be easily traced only by the authorities when needed. So likewise, over internet, each and everything we do is probably is an information. So it can be a source of data for any other organization, or can be used for any other purpose by a different organization as it. So likewise, there's an abundance of information over internet, which is probably its first step we took towards industrial revolution 4. And likewise, with that information, we can be able to process lots of things. So I also told you that in Revolution 3 was where we took the very first step towards embedded system, right? So we understood that using a piece of software, we can be able to control a piece of hardware. That probably is also understood as an automation or an embedded system. And to the same system now, which is completely an offline system, I'm providing it with an internet connectivity as a platform. I can be able to bring this offline system online, where I can remotely access it, monitor it, control it, maybe modify its algorithm, and also do the given processes which can be able to do, and which was not possible with my offline system. Now it is definitely possible with the help of internet. And speaking about integration, where again internet has provided a facility where you can integrate multiple systems or multiple blocks or maybe multiple organizations who work on a common concept in a given time. Like for instance, if there are three to four processes, they have been working independently on different processes like respectively. At some point they have to work together to come up with a common output. So likewise, these processes need not depend on operators or maybe any manual effort to get them together. They can just be provided with an internet connection. They can communicate among themselves and get the collective work done and provide us with the required results. So likewise, communication among the devices or maybe the machines or maybe the organization and the process itself can be integrated all the way together with the help of internet. And speak about machine learning, where I can simply say that it is probably a basic embedded system which is designed to send some value from the environment and store that value in my respective storage device. Instead of doing just that, I'm also providing it with a machine learning algorithm. So what this algorithm asks my machine to do is like, instead of just reading data and storing it, it also has to compare the incoming data with the previously stored data. So that way it can have a view of what kind of data it is which is coming in and whether I have the data or not, and if so, how many instances of data I have as such. So likewise, it further helps in product prediction, which leads to further technologies like machine learning, sorry, artificial intelligence, image processing as such. And now moving further, you could see these are the technologies which fulfill the concept of Industrial Revolution 4, starting from Internet of Things all the way until big data. And here, speaking about Internet of Things, I can say that it is basically a combination of embedded system and internet. Likewise, we have already had an embedded system which is specifically designed for one task alone. And this task can be fulfilling, like for instance, we have an MP3 player that probably plays songs. And this MP3 player is a complete embedded system which converts my MP3 files into audio waves. But when I'm introducing an internet technology to this MP3 player, I can be able to remotely play any song or maybe shift to any other song or pause the process as such. So likewise, as an example, we have smart bands, smart watches, smart Wi-Fi, smart LED. So these can be examples of Internet of Things, which probably are basic embedded systems, but with internet connectivity, it provides them with much more functionality and where we can also be able to control them and monitor them through a remote process with the help of internet. And speaking about integration, where I can tell you that, for instance, with an example, let's assume that we probably are entering a car manufacturing plant. So when we do so, we could see that a car probably is just not one product. It is a combination of multiple products or multiple sub products which go into it. And to be specific and speak about, like, a car will have its tires, wheel system, its engine system, then it will also have its interiors, electrical circuits, then it will also have its exteriors as such. Likewise, there are a number of circuits or systems which go within a car. And likewise, traditionally, when the car was manufactured without any assistance of internet, how would that be? Let's understand the traditional method of car manufacturing. There can be a couple of or probably three operators at one block, and probably there will be a conveyor belt. Right? So on this conveyor belt, a metal chassis will be transported, where this chassis will enter each and every block, where the first block shall deal with fixing tires and wheels, the second block shall deal with fixing engine, third block will deal with fixing the electric system, fourth block will deal with interiors, and likewise the other blocks will do their own part. So here, when first block completes its work, it probably is a manual effort. So likewise, after completing the work, this has to be sent to the next block, and that has to be instructed to other people. And this process was done with the help of operators, and it's a manual process, you can say. But here, with the help of internet, I'm just bringing all these blocks online. I'm just giving them a common platform where they can communicate with each other. So right now, if block one fixes tires or any wheel system, that directly or immediately provides an alert to the next block saying that I have done my part, now it's your part. Now you can go ahead and fix the engine system. And likewise, the third block will be getting immediate response from the second block saying that I have fixed my engine system. Now you can go ahead and fix the interiors, electrical system as such. So likewise, the processes themselves can communicate among and get the process done either individually or maybe as a collective result. That's where integration plays a huge role. That's again with the help of internet. And speaking about automation, where we would see that robotics play a huge role in automation. There are automated machines, and again we know that which is probably with the help of a code will be able to control a robo or maybe a system, you can say. And previously you can say, like for instance, if we speak about a smartphone itself, to be specific, like a few decades ago there were smartphones, but they were not as smart as they are right now. So at that moment, like a few decades ago, if you just understand how tedious the process of smartphone manufacture would be, you could see that it will take at least days or maybe a week to manufacture one individual smartphone. But now with the technology we have, the kind of automation and the processes we have, we could see in a span of second, there are hundreds of smartphones being manufactured right away. So likewise, that's how we have been advanced with the help of automation and robotics, with the help of internet connectivity, because they have been connected with each other and the communication is happening right away and the processor getting the work done immediately. And speaking about cybersecurity, which is a technology which helps us to remain safe and secure with the activities we do online. For instance, over internet, we can be able to do a number of tasks. Like it can be a simple text message, sorry, it can be a simple chat over a WhatsApp or maybe Telegram or maybe a video through a specific Zoom or Google platform, or maybe sharing some critical information through a different site as such. And moreover, you can also understand that it can also be either a shopping or maybe transaction of some amount using a banking application. Likewise, each and every activity we do online, it has to be safe and secure. Likewise, we cannot always ensure that we'll be safe or secure, because until unless we are not sure whether we are using the certified certificate or certified applications, which also keep our data safe and secure, and what are the processes we do when now online does not be able to be accessed by any other people like hackers who can be able to easily hack into your system and get your data and probably poof you out of it. So likewise, cybersecurity is one such technology which helps you remain safe and secure as long as you remain online and do each and every activity without any issues. So as long as internet remains, cybersecurity will also follow closely. Speak more additive manufacturing, and it's a very different process. But before that, let's understand the process of subtractive manufacturing itself, or manufacturing itself traditionally. For instance, let's understand that I have a huge piece of wood, or I have a huge log of wood, and using this log of wood, I'm going to come up with a model of toy, or probably I'm going to come up with a design. So, or a statue, you can say. So, what is the process I would follow? So, first of all, I'll do the markings, like what the shape of my toy has to be, or what the shape of my statue has to be. After marking that completely, I'll keep removing the excess material or excess raw material until unless I get the required statue or toy. So this process can say like it's understood as subtractive manufacturing, because I'm eliminating my unrequired raw material so that I can get my required product. And the same process, which is subtractive manufacturing, is moreover used even now in most of the industries all across the globe. So likewise, you can see like there are several problems, or you can say like consequences of this subtractive manufacturing system, where the first thing, it needs more raw material to come up with a small outcome product. Alongside, the waste it generates, the excess material which is generated from this raw material, can be or cannot be used as a byproduct by any other organization in any other process. So likewise, it's also an hindrance to the environment. So likewise, moving further, speaking about additive manufacturing, waste is the exact opposite of subtractive, where it requires only what is needed to come up with an outcome product. And I'm here pointing to technology called as 3D printing. I believe all of you are already familiar with. And speaking about 3D printing technology, where we know that all we have to do is like come up with a design for my computer using CAD or CAM software and feed this design to my 3D printer, where it will keep on printing. And how does the process look like? So it will take only what is required. For instance, if I'm going to make a product using a metal, it will have a liquid metal probably which is heated up, and it will probably keep building layers above one after another and come with a complete product. So like here you can see like there are very less chance of any material getting wasted, and it uses only what is required to come up with a whole product. So likewise, one such process can be understood as additive manufacturing, which is more effective compared to subtractive manufacturing in most of the ways. And speaking about simulation, where this technology is also doing a lot of help, not only in personal for students to learn, but also in industrial aspect in different mechanisms. So let's understand a few. And here speaking about personal aspect, we can see that not only in India, all across the globe, when we had the situation of lockdown, we could see that probably in the domain of education, like students want to proceed with their academics and teachers want to guide their students with the same. They probably came up with the help of internet and they started communicating with them through Zoom meeting or Google Meet as such. Alongside, they also were making use of few simulation platforms. So where instead of going ahead and doing a demonstration physically, they can make use of the simulation platforms and do the demonstration where the students can be able to see it and understand how things would look like in real time. So likewise, simulation was really helpful in terms of education for the students. And in industry specifically, you can say like for instance, if there's a car manufacturer and if he's coming up with a new product, and before releasing this product into a market, that product has to go through a variety of tests where the product can get damaged, and it will probably be done for testing. So likewise, you can select there can be 10 units already made and that they have to go through testing. Only then the approval can happen. Then the manufacturer can come up with a product which has to be presented in the market for sale. So likewise, this can seem a small, what is it, like a little kind of cost expense. But if we speak about more and many industries, definitely it will be a collective and huge amount of expenses probably used in only testing and understanding whether the product is suitable for the market or not. So likewise, instead of going ahead and doing such testing physically or manually, we can make use of such simulation platforms with the help of software, where we can just feed the design of the model using CAD or CAM, and that way that model can be tested with the help of software, whether it can be the test for speed or it can be test for durability or endurance or anything. So likewise, the industries can come up with cost cutting mechanisms where they can come up with as much as very less expenses with the help of these simulation softwares, which will definitely help them with again correction or maybe with modification if required before putting their product into the market. And speaking about cloud and big data, where I can say that they have been a lot of help for people to store data online. So until my Revolution 3, I said that we have stored data maybe in a floppy or maybe moreover over a pen drive. But here in Revolution 4, with the help of internet, we know that we got to understand that we can also be able to store my data online. So for instance, I can provide you with an example of Google Drive, where you can see like by default, a user will be provided with a storage facility of 15 GB. And of it, he can probably store a number of files and retrieve them, download them, and also delete them if needed within a given memory space. So likewise, you can see that when you need that information again, all you have to do is like log into one of your mobile device and download that file and work with it. So it's as simple as it was previously in Revolution 3, where there's no need for me to carry my hard disk or my pen drive wherever I go. And speaking about big data, it's a similar process, but it deals with huge stories where I can say that, for instance, there can be list of organizations who will be dealing with huge data. It can be whether a data of a project or maybe his client or maybe the employees itself. There can be a number of employees, right? So for instance, if they want to know like which employee has been working on this current project and this project is working probably under which manager and who is the client for this project and what's the progress of this project. So each and everything has to be known in a detailed manner. So likewise, detailed means I'm speaking about organizing. So like in a sorted manner. Likewise, there are several ways. Like for instance, if I'm storing data, I'm not just storing. I'm also be able to. Also want to be able to retrieve it in an organized way. So likewise, big data is something of a huge help for such mechanisms, maybe for personal or maybe for industrial aspects. And speaking about augmented reality, which was probably like a simulation platform at the beginning, but moving further, we realized that we can also be able to control any physical devices using virtual platforms with the help of a software, which I am not able to see with the help of my bare eye, but also with the image assets which I have created, which I can see with the help of a few glasses. Likewise, AR has been a huge technology as a contribution from Revolution 4, which has a number of applications, and we shall discuss about a few in the coming slides. And here, speaking about embedded system, which I already mentioned that it was the very first step we took towards in Revolution 3, when we know that we could control a piece of hardware with the help of a software. And also you can see like the automation or the Internet of Things, or you can speak about any technology. So it probably will have a base called as embedded system within it. So it's the key for all the technologies we have right now. And speaking about Internet of Things, as I've already given you with an overview, where let's have an example for understanding. For instance, I can provide you with an example of an e-commerce website. You can either speak about Flipkart, Amazon, or maybe anything. And have you ever thought like when you just click on this, when you go to this website and buy a product, how does that get shipped to you, and what's the process which happens in the back end? So let's understand that. For instance, when you visit this e-commerce website and you look out for a product specifically and you find it, when you find it, you click on buy. So when you do that, it will prompt you for payment, and then it will ask you address details if not present. And then once the process is complete and the order is placed, what happens in the backend is the respective order which you have placed the product. So the that vendor will provide an alert from this e-commerce website saying that we need your product to be shipped to the nearby warehouse. So that way the vendor will be taking a new product from his shop or maybe from his storage, and he'll provide that to the nearby warehouse. And from the warehouse, where the first process to inspect the incoming product, whether it is new, whether it is in a proper condition, so whether it's probably an original product or not. After going through all these checks, they'll go with the packing, and then after packing, they'll tag the product with the name of my. For instance, let's assume that I'm placing the order. Then they'll tag my name, my address on the product. And once they do that, from that warehouse, there can be different vehicles or different modes of transportation, which will be taking products all across the globe. Like for instance, I'm placing an order right from Bangalore, and the order is coming from, you can say like Mumbai. And from Mumbai, there can be different transportations of products happening, maybe to Jammu Kashmir, maybe to West Bengal, maybe to Tamil Nadu. So likewise, it can happen all across the nation, right? So one such mode of transportation and one such vehicle would carry a collective of products which probably are ordered from my place or my city at the same time. And this mode of transportation can be either through the road or maybe through sea or maybe through airways, you can say. And also, when this order is being transported, maybe by any mode of transportation from that warehouse to the warehouse nearby to my city, we'll be getting notified, right? So your order is on the way and will be reaching this warehouse so and so time, and will be picked by this delivery guy tomorrow and will be delivered to on so and so day. So how do you think this process is possible? That is because these vehicles or these transportation methods or the automobiles which carry these parcels will be equipped with such smart IoT devices which continuously keep track of the vehicle's condition and also provide the location to the backend servers of the e-commerce website. Where on the backend, the employees will update this data and that will be reflected onto the user, probably in my application of e-commerce, right? So likewise, if the vehicle is struck at some point because of some reason, that will also be uploaded onto this website and that will be reflected on my application right away, where I can understand that okay, the product is delayed for so and so reason, and that might be reaching me on so and so time. So okay, if it's manageable, I can go with it, or else I can cancel and go with another order. Likewise, so likewise, you can see the process which I just explained is made possible with the help of IoT even during the time of pandemic. And you can just imagine it's not only about supply chain or inventory management. So there are n number of applications where IoT is doing a lot of help, probably in industrial aspects. And now speaking about 3D printing technology, to be specific, this technology is not probably new. So it is an old technology which was invented back in 1980s to be specific. And back then it was underestimated, saying that this technology cannot be used for better implementation in real-time market where it can be used only for prototypes as such. So likewise, it was put down and there was no further research done on it. But a few decades ago, we realized that this technology has lots of opportunities which can help us with many ways in different aspects or even different domains. Where you can see right now the vehicles we use or maybe the airplane we also travel with, also the parts which go in it or in them will be manufactured with the help of 3D printing machines. And in speaking about medicinal aspects, where I can see like artificial tissues, 3D printed prosthetics, synthetic skins, and 3D printed organs. So definitely they are possible with the help of 3D printing technology alone. Likewise, it has vast applications in different domains. Maybe it can be textiles or printing coral reefs, or it can be anything. And you can see like 3D printing technologies or the machines which grow have been so much advanced that they have been already used or probably been in use in different countries for the purpose of construction or maybe for the purpose of laying down the road. Likewise, you can just imagine how far this technology has come and how far it will definitely go in future. And it probably has an upgrade version right now where which is 4D printing technology, which is an advanced version of 3D. Speaking about big data and cloud computing, together we can understand that this is where the machine learning process can happen. Like for instance, I have a system where I already provided an example of machine learning, like I just gave you an overview. Let's understand the same over here. Let's understand that I have an embedded system where I have installed a sensor which detects some parameter from the environment, and that parameter is being received by my input system and is generally stored onto a cloud facility. But instead of doing that alone, what if I'm writing an algorithm to my system saying that why don't you just not just read the data and store it, but instead you can compare the coming data with the previously stored data so that you can also have an idea of what this data is and how it's going to be. And if I'm going to receive these many data for so and so time, how my collection of data would look like as such. Like for instance, with this machine learning algorithm, I can be able to provide a way where the machine itself can understand what this is and if this data is being repeatedly coming in, how my collective data will get affected. So likewise, it helps my machine learning process to provide us with a better prediction as well as probability methods. It can be for either a weather forecasting system or maybe in real time, it can also be for different research industries. Like they can understand and estimate how the market is going to grow with different aspects, and that can be done with the help of machine learning platform, which further paves way for artificial intelligence. Where you can see like right now for people and for students or maybe generally you can select they have been using social media platforms, and when you keep scrolling through the feeds, you could notice the feeds which you see, the information you see over there is customized, which is probably aligning with your interest. That is because these social media platforms are making use of artificial intelligence machine learning platforms to understand what kind of content is liked by you or by me, and based on that they'll show the respective content alone to keep us occupied on the social media platform around the day or maybe around the month or maybe around the year, you can say. That is where these technologies are doing a lot of help. But instead of only talking about social media, which is a commercial platform, but in industries like in defense or maybe in different aspects like space technology as such, they are very much of help. And now speaking about augmented reality, where I already gave you a clue, right? So if there are certain things which I'm not able to see with my bare eye, but I have created them with the help of an environment, with the help of a software where I can able to see these things with the help of my glasses when I put them on. So I cannot just be able to see them. I can also be able to do some functions. Like for instance, I have created a virtual button, and using this glass, I'm giving a command to turn on this button. That button will by default turn on my manual switch, which will turn on my light. So likewise, using augmented reality, I can bring virtual things into reality. So I can be able to control my real-time operations using a virtual platform. And here you can see we have a few examples. So you can see like the planning and presentation, where we have an architect and who's explaining his model to one of his client. And the traditional way would be like the architect would be showing his 3D designs, sorry, showing his 3D drawings as well as a 3D model to the client to make her understand like how the process of design would be and what place goes where and how the design would look like. That would be kind of what is like it has to be more energy consuming as well as more time consuming and would also be expensive. But with the help of augmented reality, all this guy has to do is like make use of an AR-based software, come up with a CAD and CAM model, and using these glasses, he can be integrating that into augmented reality application, and then be able to see that CAM and CAD model right away. It's like a virtual process. So likewise, he can be also able to explain this whole model to his client without any issue, and the client will also have a clear picture of how the design is going to be. So this is just an example, but as a common in any planning and presentation, it can be. Augmented reality is probably doing a lot of help. And in branding and marketing also, you can say like, so moreover, you could notice some people can be attracted for one brand, or maybe they will be attracted towards one logo itself. Likewise, there are different trends which go across the market. So like some people follow that, some people do not follow that, or some people have different opinions across. So likewise, the brands probably are being happening with the help of marketing. And here, for instance, let's assume that we have a clothing company. They have come up with a fabric, and this fabric is probably environment friendly. And if they just go ahead and put that this environment friendly and it can do so and so, definitely it cannot create any attention and nobody would easily buy it. So likewise, they also have to come up with innovative ideas which can attract the people easily, and that way it can also match the trends where they can boost their sales up. So what they could possibly do is like they can hire a graphic designer, and this graphic designer has to come up with a research, understanding what's the trend right now, and if they want to cover, or probably, like for instance, there are people from youth all the way till the people who are until 60s. If they want to cover people of these age groups, they have to come up and understand what the market going on right now and what kind of changes they have been happening, which are affecting these kind of people, or the people which belong under these ages alone. So that way, based on that, the designer has to come up with a logo, and that logo has to be printed on the t-shirt, and then they can do the branding that will easily get communicated with the people. And likewise, for instance, this is a process, like for instance, the graphic designer has come up with this design, and the next process he has to do is like print this physically onto the t-shirt and understand how the design looks like. That's how the traditional method would look like. And you could see that might be energy consuming, again time, as well as cost consuming as well. But here with the help of augmented reality, what he could do is like he can come up with an AR-based application which makes use of phones or mobile phones camera, and onto this application he can place his graphic design, and right away you can see virtually he'll be able to see how the design looks like. And if he needs some modifications, he can do right away on the software and right away understand how the design looks now without having any physical effort as well as any spending of amount over there. So likewise, branding and marketing definitely doing a lot of help. Like for instance, like they have been moving very much forward. You can see like they always remain ahead, and that is possibly the help of such technologies where augmented reality is also one such technology among them. And speaking about industrial aspects, so far we have understood about the commercial help augmented reality has been doing, and in industrial aspects where you can see like we have an example of monitoring machines. So where I can speak about an example which can be very crucial and which also includes multiple processes and parameters which have to be maintained across. For instance, I can speak about oil and petrochemical industries. So when I do so, you can understand that first of all, there will be a process where they have to extract the crude oil from the ground, and that crude oil has to go through multiple processes where at each process this crude oil will be separate from a byproduct, and likewise we can get petroleum or white petroleum or diesel acids. So that there can be a number of processes which will include in oil or petrochemical industries. So likewise, they also have to make sure or ensure that each and every process is doing fine and the parameters are under recognized conditions. And if not, that could also affect the upcoming processes. So that way it will affect the whole complete system itself. So to ensure that there'll be an operator who will be assigned for respective process alone, and he'll come often and measure the values of either it can be the density of the liquid or maybe the pressure in the system. So each and everything will be recorded, and he can also understand whether some value has gone above its optimum level or has fallen below the optimum level. He'll also record that, and then based on the he does the necessary modifications that the system can remain stable and does no harm to the any other system. So likewise, with the help of augmented reality, where onto the same systems, we can also introduce a few IoT devices along with AR technology, where you can see the operator can right away view the values of these gauges without any direct contact with them. You can see like right away he's just sitting at his place and wearing his glasses, just turns around. You could notice that the first gauge is showing 25%, and it is n squared with color green, which means that it is showing its optimum level. And the next gauge is showing somewhere around 42.3% and is n squared with color red, which says that there is some problem at this respective value. Maybe you should have a look. Likewise, with the help of IoT as well as augmented reality, we can also be able to provide a help for such processes, which can be definitely as in a collector. So likewise, there are such n number of applications where augmented reality has, and I believe these are already connecting and more than enough. So that's understanding about Industry 4.0 and its technologies. Now let's understand how much adoption have been done by the market so far. So we have listed a few important domains. Starting from automobile, you can see out of 100% of the industries, only 36% of them have adopted to 4.0 based technologies. And same way in electronic and electrical industries, where you could see that the smartphone you use or maybe the laptop you use and each and every device you make use of. So they probably have to depend on electronic and electrical industries. So likewise, they have adopted Industrial Revolution 4.0 based technologies, and the number is only 29% yet. And same is the case with metals and mining and process industries as well. And machinery equipment where the manufacturing process shall happen, they stand with a percent of 26. And in energy, which can be a combination of wind, hydraulic, and solar, as a collective, they are standing at 25%. And other discrete as well as hybrid industries remain at a point of 24% out of which 100%. So likewise, with this you can understand how far these industries will go to adopt these technologies, because if the industry, like it can be any industry, if it's not adopting to the new technologies and new trends, they definitely won't have a chance to survive in the market. Likewise, the key for them to survive is only for adopting the new technologies and going ahead in the market. And likewise, you can see these are the places where you can have a job opportunities in the coming years. So that was on the aspect of domains. But here let's understand the help of regions, where we have North America, which stands top with its 36% of industries have been already adopted to 4.2 based technologies. And the second we have is Europe, where its industries as a collective only 27% of have been adopted 4.0 based technologies. And in Asia, mainly in China, where you can see like it exports all across the globe, which can be different products, they have only 20% of the industries adopted to Revolution 4.0 based technologies. So likewise, we can just imagine how far the trend will be going and how far the market of the Industrial Revolution 4 and its technologies would grow. So here we have an estimate. So it probably started when the internet came into picture, and you can see by 2019 we have had an estimate of 71.7 US billion dollars of market revenue for Industrial Revolution 4 and its technologies alone. And it's estimated that by 2024 it will be doubled, like it will be approximately 160 US billion dollars ahead. So guys, hold on, I'll go ahead and share you with a video clip where all the technologies I've just explained to you are being put to work in real time, so that we can have a clear picture of how each and every technology does a lot of help in different industries where they are probably progressing in an exponential way.
Hello. Okay.
All right. So now I believe you would have a clear picture of how these technologies have been put to work and how they have been progressing further. So with this, we are coming to a conclusion of today's session, which is Industrial Revolution 4.0 and how it has been progressing further.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for spending 1 hour time here. Uh, on behalf of Palo University, Professor Bharat Chand, again, thanks for giving 1 hour of time and giving such a very good knowledge to our students, those who are in the domain of robotics and mechatronics, especially because again they don't know how this revolution will come into the picture because today's there are many students they directly see in the mobile phone and all these things they don't have any idea about this industrial 1.0 2.0 and then will have come to this and again you already spend and given such different domains like iot is there augmented reality is there. Okay, so again I'm thankful for you for spending 1 hour time over here. So we conclude and we'll end the session here, sir. Okay, Bridges bhai, can we stop here now? Hello.
Yes, are you audible?
Yeah, so we can conclude here now, sir. We'll
Yes, sir,
please
sure.
stop here. Yes, sir. Yeah, would you like to give some message to our students? Can you please? Yes.
Sure. So, yeah, the message is like we can see this is the progress we have had so far in technologies, and we can see we can opt any of our career options in these different domains which I've just shared you with. And also, you can see like we have been training students along this pandemic, both offline and on campus. So likewise, you can see right now we have been starting with a new training batch. That is where it's going to start from Saturday onwards, and you can go ahead and enroll yourself, where you can get in touch with your coordinator as well as where the marketing person from our team. So you can get in touch with the coordinator, where he can get in touch with the marketing team. We'll take the process further. And this techno training we provide will be of 1 month complete, where for each day we'll be getting trained for 2 hours on each technology we have listed on the screen.
Okay, sir. Yeah, can you please send me the brochure of this particular all the sessions on my email ID? Okay, so we'll share with the
Sure,
students
we'll
and
do that.
interested student list. We can send it to you. No problem, sir. I'll coordinate with you. So, yeah.
All right. So lastly, thank you so much for providing us with an opportunity to go ahead and share the information.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for giving 1 hour time over here, and we'll stop the session now, sir. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Please, you can go ahead and do that.
Oh, Brijesh bhai, can we stop the session here now? Okay, Ajay sir, you can leave now if you have any other activities and you can leave.
Sure,
I'll
sir. Thank
stop.
you so much,
Okay.
and thank you all of you.
Yeah, no problem. Brijesh bhai, can we stop the session now here?